Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a quick video. It has a couple of updates and an apology. The apology, first and foremost, is that there is no main review coming out this week on The Little Platoon. I'll come on to the reasons why. The reasons why are not bad. I think they're quite exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it in any case, but I'll come on to those. A couple of updates in the first place, however. Some of you will know, some of you won't, that our second review of Star Trek Discovery was the subject of an incredibly dubious copyright claim by CBS, who attempted to get it taken down. Did succeed in getting it taken down. I published a response laying out, my take on that particular misuse of YouTube's copyright algorithm. Your support on this channel has been really heartening, and I want to thank everyone who commented on that video, everyone who's shown support for showing your support. That's really meant a lot, and it makes us feel a good deal better to know that we have you guys behind us. There is some good news on that front, surprisingly, given, it's YouTube, and YouTube doesn't quite very often give you good news when it comes to copyright strikes, but, the video's back up. It's only been a few days. It is still in dispute. The copyright claim is still being reviewed. But for the time being, they've decided that they're making it public again. For reasons I don't know. Who really understands how YouTube goes about things? But though it's the battle and not the war, we have nevertheless won the battle for now. So fingers crossed it stays this way. I'm quite happy with this. So yeah. Obviously, we've lost a few days on this. This video, as you can see, it was up for about a couple of days, and it got almost 1,000 views in that time, which is, our most successful video ever was the first Star Trek Discovery review we did. And that's, I know, why a lot of you have joined the channel. It's why I've been really keen to keep that kind of content coming out. Not least because I find it interesting myself, but also because, we're really happy to have you here, and we want to keep giving you things that you enjoy. This video is actually doing significantly better than even the first review was, and that's by far our most successful thing. Obviously, we've lost a couple of days, we've lost some momentum on this now. It would be great to get it back if we can. So if you haven't seen this one yet, if you like the first one and you want to see another one, this video is now back up. You can go and watch it. If you've seen it already, you watch it again. You might have missed something. If you know anyone else who likes this kind of content, do please share it with them. We'd love to have them on board as well. But yeah, it would be great if we can get this sort of back on the upward trajectory that it was on beforehand, flying higher than Star Trek Discovery itself was, which may have been why they took it down. That would be great. But in any case, if you want to see it, it is, at least for the moment, back online, and of course we'll keep you updated as to how that dispute unfolds. But so that's the first update. The second update, and this is the reason for the apology, is that I've just started what is by far the biggest project we've done on this channel to date. It's on a similar theme. I'm quite looking forward to this because, of course, Star Trek Picard is coming out. The second season is due out at some point in February, I think. And, there are a number of reasons I've wanted to have a go at this one for a while. So it's not a case of, there was some quote from something, in the context of CBS, this would be, it is not the case of in defeat, malice, in victory, revenge, or whatever the quote is. I'm not doing this just to take vengeance. I'm doing this because, Picard I saw when it first came out. I've watched it once since, about 3 or 4 months ago, and I've just started watching it again because I had it in mind to do a really big multi-video critique of this series. I think it is more important, quite significantly more important, for what it reveals about the mindset of the writers, about the mindset of the studios, and more generally about the mindset of a large part of our culture, and the reason our culture is in the mess that it is today. It's much better for all of these things than Discovery is. Discovery is ultimately quite cheap. It's just not a serious show. It's irritating for all the reasons we've laid out in the reviews. It's indicative of bad trends and bad tropes and a bad direction in the Star Trek franchise. But in terms of its cultural commentary, it's milquetoast stuff, or it's people in the 23rd century just giving lectures on Californian values, and we've seen that from we can name any number of shows that can give you that. Picard, I've thought since I first watched it, and that was only made even more clear to me when I watched it again, And it's only been hammered home further when I started watching it again, just today. Or will be, well, yesterday by the time this video goes out. But Picard is worse and better. It's worse because it's better. It's a better illustration of the serious things that are underpinning the cultural moment that we are in. It's not frivolous in the way that Discovery is. It's not unserious. It's not thoughtless. It's not just giving you boring lectures on the values of sort of of the west coast of America, for instance. What Picard does, and I'm not going to go all the way through the critique in this video, but just sort of as my thoughts, getting them out before I really get down to the work. Picard is, because of its place in the lore, and because of its place in the timeline, and because of the characters involved, it's much more consciously dark in the first place, but also destructive. That is its message. The Discovery sets Michael Burnham up as this new space Jesus, responsible for everything. She's brilliant. All the world owes her every thanks it can give. Picard is not looking to erect, has never been looking to erect a new positive character. That's never been its point. That certainly wasn't the point in season 1. Picard is destructive, and consciously destructive. It's deconstructing an established hero, probably, perhaps apart from Captain Kirk, the established hero of the entire Star Trek franchise. But more than that, it sets out to not only destroy the character and deconstruct the character, but deconstruct the world that everybody knew and understood from the Next Generation. But more importantly and more relevantly to us today, and I think the reason this is so useful for us as a piece of cultural commentary, it's the values that underpin that world that this series has set out to deconstruct and then to destroy and to do away with, without replacing them with anything as banal as the positivity of Star Trek Discovery. Its sole aim is deconstruction and destruction. The aims of everything that was once associated with the Federation, things I found sometimes kind of annoying about the Federation, the preachy stuff, or the stuff it too often preached about, but nevertheless the values which are good, positive, strong moral values that underpin the very idea of the Federation. Liberal universalism, camaraderie, a kind of hierarchy in the terms of the ship command, but a sense of commonality, community, and the communal spirit, underpinned by universal liberal human rights based values. It's a deeply, I think naively, but nevertheless, it's a deeply optimistic take on the world. It's trying to show us a world we could theoretically one day achieve. And by doing that, it's commenting on the flaws in the current world and the ways, by implication, we can hope to overcome them. So its common values are also our common values. The things it espouses for us, not just in some fictional universe far in the future. The really sinister and insidious thing about Picard is that its sole aim is to eliminate all of this. Its sole aim is to say, all of that good stuff that you thought you had, it's wrong. It's gone. This is reality. This is the gritty world. This is the cynical world in which we now live. It's dragging the entire idea of ideals down to the most cynical, nihilistic even, views of contemporary society. And by so doing, it's involved the franchise in a particularly ugly game, instigated by writers who fundamentally either don't care about the franchise itself, or rather only care about it because of the opportunity it presents them to subvert expectations, to subvert what was once received opinion, and to subvert the idealism of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, which is what underpinned the original series and the Next Generation, in favour of this cynical, nihilistic, masochistic worldview, which looks at society today and is focused, all it's interested in is in elevating the worst aspects of contemporary society, and in using those to drag down our cultural icons, our cultural totemic figures, all the cultural heroes of the past, and in this case, Jean-Luc Picard stands amongst those. So that's the thought process underlying this project. This project, however, I said it's the biggest one we've done. It's going to be the longest one we've done. I will warn you in advance. It is going to be split into parts, though. So part 1 is going to be dealing with, in the first place, a review of season 1, but it's going to also, in the same way as the Discovery review, the first Discovery review did, it's going to look at the philosophy underpinning it and the way that impinges on the writing and influences the writing, the way the writing in turn represents that philosophy. It's going to explore what went wrong with Picard. But I didn't want to stop there, because we've done that with Discovery, and I will say it for myself, I think we did a reasonably good job of that. But I don't think it's enough with particularly important things. And I think this is important. And bearing in mind, I've never been this huge Star Trek fan. I've never been a Trekkie. I enjoy it. I enjoy parts of it. But I recognise its importance to other people. That's what gets me really interested. I recognise its place in our culture. There are many things in our culture which I can recognise as being totemic, iconic, deservedly so. I might not necessarily like them myself, but I can understand why people do. I understand why they have earned the place that they are in. My interest in Star Trek, which is becoming more particular anyway, as of course I rewatch all of these things to inform the reviews, but my interest in it is quite meta. Anyway, if we are going to say anything really meaningful without just eulogizing, if we're not just writing the obituary of Star Trek, if we're also going to try and say something about where it could go instead, where it should go instead, if rather than simply chart the decline and fall of our great cultural empires, we are going to say, no, these things are not inevitable, we can do something to stop this, we should do something to stop this, then it's important, I think, for us not just to be critics on the sidelines. It's important for us to try and find ways and to set out ways things could be different. So part 2 of this review is going to be something we haven't done before. It will be a separate video. And my ambition for this is to take everything that's happened in season 1 and accept that that's all happened. I'm not going to rewrite anything for convenience. Season 1 is what it is. That should be left. We should acknowledge it is part of the lore. But the ambition for part 2 of this broad critique is to look at the ways in which season 2 could, not saying that it will, but could turn this narrative of cynicism, nihilism, decline, and masochism, turn that into something like a redemption or a redemptive arc. I mean, some of the the greatest stories in human history are redemption stories. Some of our greatest heroes, they have to fall, they have to fail, in order for their subsequent victory to be A, earned, and B, meaningful. I think there are ways you can do this with Picard. There are certain structural flaws, which, to be honest, I think means the series should never have been made in the first place. Not least, Patrick Stewart is too old to be the main character. But ignoring any of that, so part 2 of this critique is going to set out an attempt, at least, to set out where this series could go to turn this story, given what was already happened, from something deeply dark and unhappy into something which is affirming, which takes on the moral lessons of season 1, because there were some. It's not ubiquitously, universally bad, it's just almost always bad, which is the difference. It's going to take those and attempt to use some of these, if they're not already moral lessons, to make them moral lessons, and otherwise to take the existing moral lessons and to repurpose them into a narrative of redemption, a narrative of positivity, something which is culturally affirming in the end. Picard has fallen. He can rise again. He will be wiser, even older, if that's even possible. His victory will then be meaningful in a way that it might not have been if it had just been a positive series. Because that's always been one of my criticisms of mainline old Trek, is that it is too universally optimistic for my taste. I think it could do with a bit more grit and darkness, but not nihilistic darkness, which is what Picard has given us. So that's going to be part 2. The idea for that is it will be out in a couple of weeks. So part 1, I'm hoping, will be out next weekend. Part 2, which is going to be this sort of look forward, where could the series go, that should be out the week after, which takes us, I think, to the last week of January. which I think times it well, because then in February, season 2 of Picard comes out, and we will see what has actually been done. I'm not optimistic. I don't think anyone should be optimistic. But it will be interesting to see what they do with it, and then compare it to what I've set out in part 2. And from that, we can draw our conclusions, not only about the state and the future of the franchise itself, but I think also about the direction culture more broadly is heading in. Have we reached a turning point yet? Or is there still much work to be done? I suspect that will be the answer. But it will be interesting to see, to take stock. So part 3 will be primarily a review of season 2 once that's out. And then using that review, it will reflect on the previous part, on what I think should have happened, and then draw some hopefully broad, mainline, understandable conclusions from all of that. So that is the project for the next month, basically. I'm hoping again to get one of these out every week. They're going to be, the first part at least is likely to be quite a long video, but I'm going to make sure it's got all the timestamps in the description. It will be chaptered so people can dip in and out as and when they please. So I'll try and make it as digestible as possible. But I'm looking forward to this. I think this could be good. There's a lot to say about Picard, and I think a lot that needs saying, and a lot that should have been said already, but perhaps hasn't been. So my modest ambition is to do all that. We will see what happens. It's going to be the most technically complex thing I've done as well. So yeah, expect a few presentational technical hitches. I will try and minimize those as much as is possible. It will be a learning experience. But unlike Picard, I'm going to be optimistic for my own future. So fingers crossed this will all go well. But that is what to look out for over the next month, pretty much, in terms of the film and TV side. February is when some other larger films start coming out at the cinema again. January's been quite quiet. So February, I will be back at the cinema. And I will take a brief departure from Star Trek once this big project's out of the way and focus on some other things. But I hope you enjoy those as well. In the meantime, stick with the channel and watch that Part 2 review before they decide to take it down again. Thank you again for your support regarding that, and we hope to see you and speak to you very soon.